For 10 years, Manchester City had Pep Guardiola. 10 years of possession, pressing, ridiculous passing, triangles, and enough trophies to make every other Premier League fan develop trust issues. But now, Pep is gone, and Manchester City have entered something they haven't experienced since 2016, a new era. Pep left after an incredible decade in Manchester, winning 20 major trophies and transforming City into one of the most dominant teams in the modern football. But this video isn't really about Pep, because the bigger question is what happens to Manchester City under Enzo Maresca? And honestly, this could get very interesting. Maresca isn't some random appointment. He already knows the City system, having previously worked with the club's development squad and Guardiola's coaching staff. And stylistically, there are obvious similarities. Possession, control, building from the back, creating overloads. Basically, if Guardiola is the professor, Maresca is the student who somehow got promoted to teaching the class. But here's the problem, Maresca isn't Pep, and he shouldn't be tried to be. This job is to take City's foundation and build something slightly different. We have already seen hints of that during preseason. City toured Asia facing Inter, the K-League All-Stars and Atletico Madrid, while Maresca experimented with his ideas and worked with a squad that wasn't fully available because of the World Cup. Maresca himself said his duty was to introduce new ideas, and one player who could become extremely important to those ideas is Elliot Anderson. The England midfielder arrived from Nottingham Forest on a 5-year deal, and Maresca has already talked about using him as either a number 6 or number 8. That versatility could be huge because City are entering a midfield transition, and then came the Community Shield. City versus Arsenal. Maresca first competitive match. The perfect opportunity to say, alright professor, let's see the homework. Well, Arsenal said no. City lost 3-0. Calafiori scored almost immediately, Havertz made it 2 and Odegaard added a third early in the second half. Now, before we start declaring Maresca finished after one match, relax, it's a Community Shield. It doesn't predict the entire season, but it did expose some questions. City looked like a team still learning a new manager's idea, and that's completely understandable. The real test began now, because Maresca also has to deal with a changing squad. Bernardo Silva has left after 9 years, John Stones has departed, Nathan Ake is gone, and City have started bringing in younger and fresher options, including Anderson, Jeremy Monga, Giri Numo Reilly, and Percy Charles. And this is where things become fascinating, because City aren't simply replacing players, they are changing the identity of the squad. The old City had players who had been through everything together, league title, Champion League nights, travel celebration. Now Maresca has to create a new hierarchy. Who leads, who becomes the next Bernardo, who controls midfield, and most importantly, who becomes the face of the Maresca's Manchester City. Then there's the biggest question of all, Rodri. His future has been heavily discussed this summer, with Barcelona intoxicating uncertainty, and he is joining Barcelona. If City lost the greatest midfielder of the Guardiola era at the same time, they are replacing Guardiola himself. Yeah, that's not exactly the easiest save file in Football Manager, but still, City have Haaland. They still have Foden, they still have Doku, they still have a squad packed with elite talent, and Maresca has already made it clear he wants to improve players like Foden rather than simply replace them. So this isn't a rebuild from zero, it's more like rebuilding the engine while the car is still trying to win races. And that's why the 2026-27 season could be one of the most important in Manchester City's history. Pep built the dynasty, now Maresca has to prove he can build the next chapter. Maybe he becomes the man who keeps City at the top. Maybe the Guardiola era was simply impossible to reproduce, but one thing is certain, Manchester City aren't trying to be Pep City anymore, they are trying to become Maresca City, and if he gets this right, the rest of the Premier League might have another problem on their hand.